I was 13, I think, when I first met him, and we were fans of each other's, and we just immediately hit it off. We laughed so hard. I wasn't trying to get a music career. I wasn't trying to get anything from him, and we just started hanging out. I think because we both grew up in the same business, and we had similar upbringings in the sense that we were, we had to begin in this business at a very young age. We learned a sense of, we had defense mechanisms that we had built up. And I think once we met each other, we realized that we didn't really have to be wary of one another. And that enabled us to build a friendship on a very different level.
If you wanted to pick up the phone and call Michael Jackson, can you dial Pluto direct, or could you reach him like other Earthlings couldn't?
Beep, beep, beep. Yes, I could.
Now, let me know, because you have been out on several dates with Mr. Jackson, is that correct?
Michael and I have been friends for years.
And I was like the person that he would call because these other famous people would sort of really like prey on him and want to be like, I'm going to sleep with him because that's going to be a thing. I mean, people talked about his genius, but I don't think they didn't really know how polarized his sort of life was, insofar as he was extraordinarily a genius and talented, and there was an Arrested Development, I believe, and he was sort of truncated emotionally as a little kid. And
he was a child?
He was childlike, but in many ways. And we were kids together. I think that there was an Arrested Development to a certain extent with him in that way. But we acted like little kids together. And I don't think either one of us in our lives really had the environment to do that safely.
I mean, he's a very soft sort of voice, and he always says, "Oh, Brooke, I'm sorry." I mean, he's always so happy to talk to you, and he wants to know what you're doing. But he's very actually there is no but. There's just a very genuine innocence that he has protected and sheltered himself from so much that's been maintained. He has an innocence about him that just enables him to revel in flowers and children and animals. And he's just, I mean, he talks about his work a little bit, but he really just talks about things that make him happy. I mean, we have long discussions just about everything.
So he's quite a regular person then?
He really is, and he's, regular in the sense that, not regular in the sense that he's not jaded.
Yeah.
And I find that many people in this business have a tendency, it's easy to become jaded.
I mean, I remember saying this to him. He couldn't believe I was going to go to schools. He couldn't believe I was going to go to regular schools, that I was going to go away to college by myself, that I was going to then, when I told him I was getting married, he just didn't get it. He was like, you can't do that. And I said, I've got a chance. I said, I've been going out in the world. I'm not so isolated, and I want this chance. I want a chance to be quote unquote normal, and he never really could trust a lot of people around him.
I want to know what the real deal is, Brooke, between the two of you. Was there romance going on? Were you all kind of romantically involved? Was there like ever an exchange of, rings or anything, or?
Well, actually, I think right now, let me say that I believe that we're closer now than we ever were. I think we love each other more now than we even knew we did when we were younger.
Really?
I mean, we used to, because we had fun when we were younger. I mean, it was, and we were sort of a source of relief.
This is a question. Did you have a crush on him, or did he have a crush on you?
I think we both had a crush, and still do have a crush on each other. I mean, I think part of having a crush on someone is admiring them. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of fun together, and I mean, it's almost unfortunate because we know each other so well. But, I mean, he amazes me every time I sit down and talk to him about something real important.
Does he feel more like a brother to you, though, than, say, a boyfriend, though?
It's hard to say. I mean, I find it's a love on a different level. I mean, I feel closer to him than some of the boyfriends that I've had. He gave me the most incredibly beautiful ring that you can ever imagine. And of course, then people built that out of proportion, and they said we were engaged, and it wasn't about that. It was a friendship ring.
When you're in his presence, and I don't mean this tongue-in-cheek at all, is there something eerie about him?
No, it's not eerie in the sense of scary or weird. He's so creative. I mean, he borders on genius.
And I think that when you have that much talent and you are at the same time that sensitive a person, your conversation is going to be different with him. And I think that that's where one might interpret it as eerie. It's not though. And all it takes is a joke or laughing or talking to him or, saying, look, I'm here too and you're here.
Do the unfortunate, nasty comments and criticisms about him, do they upset you? Make you angry?
They upset me constantly. I'm constantly upset by what people say. I mean, first of all, so many people really don't know him and they don't give him a chance and they're so ready to criticize. And I think what happens is when you see genius and when you see a talent that is just unstoppable and untouchable, the first reaction people have is to criticize it because it scares them, it threatens them, and in order to augment their own self-worth, they feel that they have to belittle him. And he's a sensitive human being who, all of the negativity really, it does affect him and it hurts him.
How do you recognise him between dates? How do you know it's him coming up? Because he does look very different now, doesn't he?
He does look different. We don't ever discuss any of that, actually. We talk a lot on the phone, so it's usually his voice that gives him away.
But do you find yourself biting your lips saying, the man has a completely different nose? And then you go, what a terrific weather we've been having, Michael. How do you avoid the issue?
It's not something that you just really want to ever talk about or dwell on. But we actually, for the wedding, we were, it was really interesting because I was there from the entire
so we're back to the wedding now, Brooke, I see, yeah.
Light segue.
Yeah.
The wedding.
How big is Michael Jackson's willy? Oh, I think you should ask Michael Jackson. That's one thing we'll never find out.
He just always wanted to be the absolute best, most superior performer that ever lived.
And to my mind, he was the best I ever saw.
I don't think anybody came close, and I think so much was imitation. I think he was a one-off for sure.
Did you remain friends throughout?
Throughout. He was the first person to call me when my dad got sick.
Wow.
When I had postpartum, he sent me flowers and all of these things, even though we sort of hadn't had our regular dinners that we used to have on a more regular basis. But he was consistent to the end. And when it came time to his memorial, I had been really out of the public eye with him for a decade at least. And it was his mom who called me and said, I want you to speak. Because I really thought, this is going to be a cartoon. I'm not going to I'm not going to be invited. I never liked the dad never liked me.
Why not?
He's not a human being. He's the devil. And you just look in his eyes and listen, maybe, you kind of look back and you think, regrets. His mom was so lovely and he loved her. But I do feel like it was unnecessary, unkind, he wasn't kind.
Did you speak to him at the funeral or not?
I did. I had a couple cocktails and I went over to him. I don't know what possessed me. I went over to him and I said, you know what? You never liked me. You never even pretended to like me. I never liked you. You always were mean. And I said, you know what? I'm going to tell you? I'm going to thank you for your son. I said, because your son changed the world and was my friend. He was just like, and he was gross. He had these young women around him. And
did Michael hate him?
I don't think you can truly, deeply hate your parent because you get one of them. I think he was so hurt by him, and I think he just couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe how mean it was to him. So I recently met Paris at the Calvin Klein show. We were both reworking with Calvin Klein, and she turned to me and she said, so you're my dad's friend. And I was because I'd only seen her when she was a baby and she didn't remember me. Yeah. And so I said, yes, I am. And then I waited a while and I looked at her and I said, I really miss your dad. Oh. And she looked at me and she held me and she goes, me too. And it was just a pure moment. And then we just had now we have our own kind of communication together.